Thoughts from DJ, Global Equality in Trade. Listen to the full version on the official dinarreport.com website and become our supporter on Patreon. It has long been understood that the end game for the GCR is to create equality in global trade. While it sounds good, is it practical? The foundation of our financial systems can shape the future of global trade in ways both expected and unforeseen. The concept of asset-backed currencies, a system where money is directly linked to tangible resources like gold, oil, or other valuable commodities, can be debated. Should the world's currencies return to being anchored by real assets, GCR, the landscape of global trade would undergo significant transformation, altering everything from international relations to economic stability. First of all, an asset-backed currency system would impose a new layer of discipline on nations' monetary policies. Unlike the current fiat currency system, where money can be printed based on economic needs or political agendas, an asset-backed system requires that every unit of currency corresponds to a tangible asset. This constraint would likely reduce the ability of countries to engage in inflationary practices, leading to more stable global prices. But for trade, this stability could be a double-edged sword. On one hand, reduced currency volatility would lower the risks associated with exchange rates, encouraging more predictable and fairer trade agreements. On the other hand, countries with fewer natural resources or valuable assets could find themselves at a disadvantage, struggling to participate equally in global commerce. The redistribution of economic power would be another inevitable consequence. Countries rich in valuable resources such as gold, oil, or rare earth metals would gain significant influence. These nations would see their currencies strengthened, granting them greater leverage in international trade negotiations. On the other hand, countries without substantial assets would face the prospect of economic marginalization. In the context of countries, economic marginalization occurs when nations are unable to compete effectively in the global economy. This could lead to a new era of economic imperialism, where wealthy nations exert more control over poorer ones, not through military might, but through financial superiority. International trade imbalances would have to be scrutinized more closely. In the current fiat system, countries with trade deficits can borrow money or print more currency to cover the gap. However, in an asset-backed system, this option would be severely restricted. Nations with persistent trade deficits would have to pay with real assets, potentially depleting their reserves. This could force a radical shift in trade policies, encouraging countries to become more self-sufficient and less reliant on imports, which could, in turn, slow the pace of globalization. Another significant impact would be the revaluation of global commodities. With currencies tied to physical assets, the demand for these commodities would increase, driving up their prices. This could trigger a resource race, where countries hoard or aggressively acquire assets to back their currencies. The environmental and geopolitical ramifications could be huge. As nations scramble to secure dwindling resources, possibly leading to conflicts or attempts to increase borders to secure natural resources. For businesses, an asset-backed currency system would create both challenges and opportunities. On one hand, the stability of asset-backed currencies would reduce risks associated with currency fluctuations, making long-term contracts more predictable. On the other hand, the costs associated with securing and verifying the assets backing each currency could introduce new complexities and expenses into international transactions. While the idea of returning to an asset-backed currency system might seem like a path to greater economic stability, it would also bring about drastic changes in global trade dynamics. The benefits of reduced currency volatility and inflation control has to be weighed against the potential for increased economic inequality, resource conflicts, and a shift away from global cooperation. We may not choose to admit it. Overall, global trade shapes daily life by determining what individuals can buy, how much they pay, and the job opportunities available to them. In this race to achieve a GCR, we might want to consider just finishing the race, not how we get there the fastest. The world has old knees. It's probably a good idea to slow down and walk to the finish line. There must be something else going on that we just can't see. Listen to the full version on the official dinarreport.com website and become our supporter on Patreon. Source: Dinar Recaps.